Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm finally going to be doing a Catholic review of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's official story mode called World of Light. You may be wondering why it took me so long to do that when Smash Bros. Has been out for over a year now. Well, it's because this story is very abstract and sort of make your own story, so I'm having a hard enough time trying to figure out what the original game's message is, let alone trying to find the Catholic undertones in this, of which I can guarantee the designers were probably not thinking of in the slightest. So before I go over the Catholic elements in the story, let's first talk about what the actual story is, of which that shouldn't take too long at all. So the game starts out with the 74 original fighters from the base roster, not including DLC, on a cliff ready to face an army of Master Hands. However, Shulk receives a vision that things are about to go terribly wrong and they should prepare. Well, unfortunately, all of the fighters on that cliff get annihilated by Gleam's beams of light, except for Kirby, who escapes on a star. Remember that, because that'll be important. Then it turned out that everyone in the video game verse who didn't face Gleam lost their bodies, and they became mere spirits that had to possess copies of the fallen fighters. So basically anyone that actually fought Gleam actually got worse damage than those who were farther away. Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. So basically Kirby's job was to reawaken the actual fighters, and then the army of the base roster, and eventually you could do DLC once you got far enough in the game. Then you would take on Gleam. But spoiler alert, it turns out there's actually another lord called Darkon, who takes over the world with his army of Master Hands. And in order to get the true ending, you have to find a way to defeat both Gleam and Darkon at the same time, so that all of the spirits can rise to the heavens, a better place, wherever spirits in this universe go. So, looking at it from a Catholic standpoint, I think the best way to approach this would be from an allegorical standpoint. As much as I normally hate doing that, I think in Super Smash Bros. That's the closest I can get to prevent myself from going insane with all of this interpretation. So first off, what do all of the characters mean? Well, Kirby, I believe, represents the embodiment of hope, or in essence, a true prophet. It says, "A star of hope twinkles faintly as the dust settles on a new world," which was exactly how the world knew that Jesus was being born in the stable in Bethlehem. Was the wise men followed a star, just as Kirby, the lone survivor of the attack, escaped on a warp star. It was Kirby's job to reawaken the captive fighters and get them to realize what their mission is. Now, the captive fighters, I would say, are the true believers of the one true God. So, if they believe in the true God, and Kirby's like the Star of Bethlehem saying, "Hey, guys, he's here!" And the fighters are either the wise men or the people afterward, then what does that make Gleam? Well, I would say that Gleam is the embodiment of someone who's trying to take over God or be a false god. You could say that Gleam is like a representation of the religious zealots, the ones who are like, "This is my way or no way." Sort of the control freaks of the religious world saying that they have to go their way. It's not based on God's will, and in some cases they actually want to distort what God has made. Darkon, on the other hand, would probably represent the chaotic neutrals of the world, those who don't believe in the true God, but they don't believe in Gleam either. They sort of have their own perspective on things, like maybe they're postmodernists that say, what if there is no objective truth? What if life is all just an illusion, and so therefore we should not even concern ourselves with anything? If anything, that makes Darkon more dangerous, because as the game's lore refers to him, he's the embodiment of chaos and destruction. And chaotic neutrals are one of the worst kinds of evils because they don't have an official alliance. In fact, it doesn't even really say what Darkon's motivation is. At least with Gleam, it outright says that Gleam wanted to create a new world, whereas Darkon is kind of just there. He rips open the sky, decimates some of the Master Hands, and decides, I'm just going to take over the world. Whereas Gleam is controlled and beautiful. Darkhan is ugly and out of control. So, you might be asking, Gopal, what about the wings of Galeem? Well, that's been pointed out in other YouTube videos, but to reiterate from a Catholic perspective, Galeem kind of is designed sort of like a seraphim. Angels don't actually have a physical form, contrary to how they might appear to us. We have to use our imaginations of sorts. That's why Galeem is basically just a ball of light, because that's probably the closest you're going to get until you get to heaven. So, essentially, you could say that Galeem could be a representation of Satan, and Darkhan is the embodiment of not believing in any kind of God, which both of them have dangers of their own. You have to defeat both of them, because that's the only way that the spirits are literally able to move on to the next reality, to heaven, to say, I'm going to believe in the one who definitively gives us salvation, not one who says anything, not one who believes in their own cause, but one who has proven in history that he exists. If you look at the lyrics to the song Lifelight, which is Smash Bros. Ultimate's main theme, they use a lot of motifs that wouldn't seem out of place in a Catholic setting. You get amazing lyrics such as From the Distance sings a chorus of souls, my friend Dan's favorite, every soul contains a whisper of light, showing that even the villains on the cliff like Ganondorf, Ridley, and K. Rool are able to seek redemption in the face of this greater evil. Essentially, it asks us to redefine what is evil. In essence, we really can't judge, because just as Ganondorf and K. Rool have their roles to play in annihilating the darkness and the light, we also have to consider that maybe we are judging people when we really shouldn't be. I mean, sure, we can say those actions aren't that great, but at the same time, we don't know the state of their souls. In fact, I would even say that the spirit concept is sort of a distortion of how God created us in the first place. He created us to have both body and soul. Therefore, they cannot be separated, otherwise you just get a corpse. And with that came the option for free will. Galeem did not believe in free will. He thought that he had all of the answers. And so therefore he placed spirits into the copies of the fighters. So essentially the entire makeup of the original cast was completely lost. The soul is what makes someone unique, then Galeem is taking away that uniqueness and replacing it with other Nintendo characters, which in my interpretation is sort of, I would say that represents peer pressure, because you got a lot of good intentioned people that want to do the right thing, but then the world comes along and crushes their ability to make a free choice. They're essentially conforming to this other spirit, be it the spirit of an inferior religion, be it the spirit of a bully at school. And only when you stand up, make a stand, do you have the option of actually being yourself again. The characters who are turned into spirits, I guess more or less are the weak-souled of the world, the people that don't have a proper education, who just simply succumb to whatever they hear. You could say they're the types that believe anything they hear. Maybe they're like the people that turn into the media, and if the media says Trump is evil, then they're just like, okay, well, Trump must be evil. I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to fact check this. I'm just going to go along with whatever they say, rather than having a rational capacity to say, this is wrong. I am a human being, and I am allowed to disagree with that. So essentially, Kirby is the one who's pointing people to the truth and the light and what is, as opposed to what could be or what feels like the right option. So let's also talk about briefly how the final battle turns out, which is really interesting by final battle standards, because how it's supposed to work in normal video games is that the protagonist is against the antagonist, and it's sort of like a one-on-one big conflict. However, there's essentially a three-way battle going on in the true final battle against Galeem and Darkhan at the same time. You've got your player protagonist, but Galeem and Darkhan don't seem to notice that the player is even there. During most of the fight, they're actually trying to hit each other more than they are actually trying to hit the player. It's only when the player actively gets in their way do they actually start being aggressive and dangerous. Whereas most of the regular battle, they're actually pretty calm and serene. There are sometimes phases where they just sit there doing nothing, almost as if they wouldn't know that you were here unless you intervened. Which reminds me of a video I did a while back called the LGBT aggression issue, where I talked about how people who identify themselves on the LGBT spectrum, a lot of times they don't really use Socratic reasoning. They start out all peaceful and harmonious, saying like, yeah, we like to tolerate people. We want people to feel like they're allowed to express an opinion. But then when you disagree with them, they become the exact opposite of tolerant and become very aggressive and mean and say, you're this terrible, evil person and I hate you. When really, why can't we just talk, discuss, have a conversation? Just like you like blue, I like yellow. Like, it doesn't have to be that big of a deal. But I think you could say that the battle in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is essentially the antithesis of Socratic reasoning. After you defeat one or the other, in my case I happen to defeat Galeem first, you notice that they get insanely aggressive. They will stop at nothing to attack you. The sky will even turn an exaggerated color to show that all of a sudden, now that their main enemy is defeated, there's one more thing standing in their way and they won't stand for it. So in the case of the Darkons, which are like the postmodernist, chaotic neutrals of the world, at first their motto is, you don't attack my religion, I won't attack yours. Let's just get along. But as soon as you directly challenge their viewpoint and say, no, you are wrong, then they come at you with insults like you're bigoted and you're prejudiced. And essentially they're kind of being a little bit of a hypocrite in that respect. But then there's the Galeems, which, are the false prophets, the antichrists of the world. I guess you would say they're the type that kind of speaks for themselves, really. I shouldn't have to explain it, but I will. Basically, the Galeems of the world are the type that firmly believes that their view is so right that it's not really possible for any other religion to exist. So it's absolutely unthinkable that they could be wrong. And it could be pride, it could be the fact that they've received no other instruction. But either way, if their view is challenged, then, well, guess what? You get challenged too. So essentially, the only way you can win is to just defeat all of them and bring the spirits and the world to enlightenment. AKA, it's not until both of them are defeated at the same time that there's actually a good ending. If you decide to defeat Galeem instead of Darkon, then the world basically gets completely annihilated and destroyed because there's no solid foundation to back up your beliefs. If there's no such thing as morality, then you need some kind of system to back things up. But if you defeat Darkon instead of Galeem, then basically the story repeats itself, but this time without hope of a happy ending. And notice how the characters are filled with terror in their eyes as the new world of light comes. Essentially, all of your work has been for naught. But if you defeat both of them, the game kind of just ends. It doesn't have a definitive conclusion apart from seeing this big spiral of spirits rising up into the air. And in a sense, that fits pretty well with Catholic theology, because while we know that heaven is a place of bliss and eternal joy, and it's better than this world, at the same time, there's also so much we don't know about heaven. The Bible constantly speaks about how heaven is great and all that, but with our limited human minds, we cannot possibly fathom the depths of exactly what heaven is because it's beyond our human senses. We are finite creatures going into the realm of someone who is immortal, who is a deity, who knows everything. So, the ending is left deliberately cryptic because the end of our life is going to be deliberately cryptic. We don't know exactly how our eternity is going to play out. We just know it's going to be good. So, as the lyrics of Lifelight say, today we finally find a way moving into our tomorrow, our eternal tomorrow. Now, let me just make a quick disclaimer before I end this video. I don't mean to bash other people that disagree with me. In fact, I can think of a few people off the top of my head that might get pretty vocal with some of the things I have to say. And I just want to say that I don't think that's what Sakurai had in mind when he was making the game. It's more so if I want you guys to get to thinking about, like, what does the world look like without God, without objective morality? Is it worse off than what we think is the right way to go? Are we truly better off making our own decisions? Or is it better to trust someone who knows everything as opposed to us who, well, only know some things? So let me know in the comment section if I missed anything, or if there's something I might have forgotten, because like I said, this was hard enough for me to figure out even just like what is Sakurai trying to say with his non-Christian perspective, which I think it can be summed up pretty simply by just saying order versus chaos, have a balance of the two like every other Japanese game is. So, thank you very much for listening to my spiel, and until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and what do you think about World of Light's story? I'd be really interested to hear what you have to say. Bye!